conversation. First, taking our quote from Peter Ferdinand Drucker, who is an Australian-American management consultant, educator, and author. He once said, "Management is doing things right. Leadership is doing the right things." Absolutely spot on. My next quote is from Fela Bank Olemo, who once said, "A 10 kVA generator, no matter how well intended, cannot power a 10-story building. So, grow your capacity." Absolutely spot on. I'll take my last quote, and this one is from Harriet Seppi, who is a master entrepreneur and technocrat. He once said, "Like a battery, the human mind and body must be fully discharged to stretch their capacity." Okay, I'm sure you're wondering why capacity. Let's see how this quote relates to what we are discussing today. Very warm greetings and welcome to the conversation. We're reaching you from KAFTAN's television studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Annabel, Orji. Today we'll turn our attention to so many things. We'll be talking about project management, capacity building, training of employee and management training and all. Now, in recent years, Nigeria has been experiencing rapid economic growth and development driven by a surge in infrastructural projects, technological advancement, and foreign investment. Also, effective project management plays a crucial role in ensuring the successful implementation of these initiatives, enabling the nation to capitalize on its potential and improve the quality of life of its citizens. This edition of the conversation explores the state of Nigeria's project management, examining the challenges faced, the progress made, the windows of opportunities. And my guest on the show today, I've got two beautiful ladies joining me today. My first guest is Mojisola Olatinwo, who is a senior strategy advisor, Good Word Partners Limited. Great to have you.
Good morning, Annabel. Good to be here.
Great to have you. All right, I have my next guest, and she is Yemisi Adewunmi. She is the COO, Good Word Partners Limited.
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Great to have you too. Okay, so now let's get down to business, like they say. I'll start with you, Mojisola. What exactly is project management? Because most times you just hear project management, and I remember someone coming to me to ask me, okay, so she said, and quote, "I'm starting my master's and I'm looking at what should I go for, project management or leadership, but I don't even know what project management is. So maybe you help us." I'm sure she's watching. You help us unpack.
Okay, so in very simple terms, a lot of us actually engage in project management without realizing it. What is a project? It's not necessarily a construction site. It's not necessarily an engineering. Anything you embark on, either as an individual or as a team that has a point A, a point B, a goal, what you want to achieve, and an end point, is a project.
Okay.
So basically, project management in lay terms is the ability to envisage the entire process from start point to end point in a big picture, and to slot in resources according to how you need to do it. So project management cuts across several industries, if you may, and it's really broad.
Okay. So I hear you talk about the fact that it doesn't necessarily have to do with construction sites, engineering.
Absolutely.
So it means anyone can be a project manager, right?
Okay, so yes, to a certain extent.
Okay.
To, again, like I say, in layman's terms. But when you talk about project management as a profession, then it takes on a deeper meaning to say that there are systems, there are templates, if you will, that you can employ. There are tools that you can employ to ensure that whatever project you're doing comes out successful. And so in that light, not anyone can manage a project. Let me put it that way. That if you're looking at it from that light, not everyone can successfully manage a project. I think that's where learning about project management comes into play.
Okay, so what exactly are the duties and the limits of a project manager?
Duties of a project manager would include things like budgeting, for example, project planning.
Okay.
Like outlining the steps, would include things like even building the team, putting the team together, or having a team on ground and letting everybody know what their responsibilities are. And then generally overseeing to be sure that what is on paper is actually being carried out. So that's it. Limitations would be, say, not actually doing the job yourself, but ensuring that everything is in its place.
Okay, so with what you've stated, it looks as though project management and leadership, they're like two sides of the same coin, right?
I wouldn't say so. I'd say more that the project manager, good project manager, should have great leadership skills.
Okay.
When you say they're two sides of the same coin, yes, the same coin, but then on one hand, the project manager, on the other hand, a leader, the project manager is a leader or should be a leader. Think of it in this way. This analogy comes to mind. You have an engine, a machine. Your project manager is like the oil that makes sure that every part flows, every part works properly.
Okay.
So without the oil, you have a lot of grating, a lot of jarring, and the machine might not even work at all. So the project manager is like the oil in that system. Okay. So he's not going to be the gear that turns the belt, for example, but his being there will make the gear turn a lot easier.
Ah, okay, I get it. All right, let's come to you, Olatinwo. Yemisi, right?
Yemisi.
Okay, so let's come to you, Yemisi. With regards to, I hear when she talked about project management, and then she talked about training people and all. So how do you get into the act of training people, especially with regards to managing a project? And they tell you that people, especially when it comes to management style, people can be really different, and then it's I wanted to borrow former President Buhari's word. They say, "Oh, people management is even worse than managing." Let me just keep my words. How far can it actually get to train and to manage people?
So managing people and training people actually goes hand in hand.
Okay.
But you need to be sure, first of all, that you have the right people on your team. The people you need to carry out the project at hand, for instance, and that they are good enough, they have the skill set to do it. When it comes to training, it is empowering them, making sure that they have what it takes exactly to do the job. So let's use medicine, for instance. You need to do a medical outreach. It's a project too. You need to have professionals, first of all. Then it might now be a different kind of medicine we're talking about here, reaching out to people in rural area. Now, equipping your team to do such would be the training. So training does not answer for everything. That's what I'm trying to say. So if you don't have the right people, training would not help. Training is just like an enhancer. It enhances what your team have to get the job done rightly.
Okay.
So as a project manager, for instance, you need to understand your team. You need to understand their strength. You need to understand their ability so that you're able to put, the right peg in the right hole. And for us in GWPL, one of the things that stand out for us is our Gallup Strengths coaching, which is now the trend in most organizations where they have in-house coaches. These are people that are trained to understand people's strengths, people's talents and abilities, and they are able to utilize those strengths appropriately. What happens in most projects is that the project manager does not even understand the skills, the strength and the talents of the people on his or her team.
So how do you get started if you want to understand people's skills? Because most people will tell you that it starts from the recruitment process, yeah?
Yeah.
The placement, the recruitment, and all. But then at some point, you now find out that I think I got the wrong people on my team. How do you deal?
So it's really common during recruitment that I need this job. I'll tell you anything you want to hear to get the job. It's easy to, you can use even AI right now to put your CV together to have the right words. But like you said, you can find out later that you got the wrong person on the team. That was why I started by saying training does not help all the time. If this person is not good for the job, if this person does not have the skills that are needed, in most cases, training might not help. Training is to enhance, right? You cannot take somebody that is not certified in his field to do something. You're just going to have a lot of chaos there.
Okay.
But when you have people on your team that are good enough and you need to understand them, first of all, a good leader should be able to observe his team members and understand this is the strength of this person and this is where this person is not good enough. So it is important to put people where their strengths would excel, where they will excel using their strengths, rather than engineering them to develop what they don't have. So let's take customer service, for instance.
Okay.
To do customer service, you have to be empathetic. You have to be able to relate with this customer, understand what this customer wants and how to help the customer. When you put somebody that is not empathetic there will be problem. It doesn't mean the person is bad. It probably means the person is in the wrong place of your operations.
So it means during recruitment process, I have to be looking out for someone who
has
empathy.
Yes, somebody who can relate, somebody who is patient enough to listen and understand and is willing to help.
Okay.
You cannot put somebody that is really technical.
But how do you actually spot that during recruitment process? Because I need a job. I can be empathetic. I can do whatever you want me to do.
So there
a job.
So there are strength finders that you can use during recruitment, although it might be expensive during recruitment because the whole process itself is money intensive, right? But there are some of these tests. There are some of these strength finders that can help you. Gallup is like the best in the world right now that can help you understand this and help you spot on this person. During the recruitment, there are questions that should be asked. You can give them real life scenarios where there is no right or wrong answers, but from the way this person is responding, you'd know that this person can do that.
Okay. So you wanted to say something with regards
to... Yeah, I mean, in addition to what she said, some of these questions, some of these tests, if you will, they're not tests per se, more like presenting a situation to the person. How the person answers, like she said, throws a lot of light into the strengths of that person for you to know that, okay, this is going to work with this person. And the way it comes really is not something anyone can prepare for. So yes, you need the job. Yes, you're coming in, but you cannot expect that we're going to ask you how to make eba, for example.
Okay.
So you will most likely say it the way you usually do it. And from there, we're able to say, okay, this person should really not be in the front desk.
Okay.
And of course, there's the whole non-verbal communication and a whole lot of other things. But again, it's about putting the right person in the right. So if your recruiter, if your recruitment team is not the right fit, they would probably miss those cues.
Okay. Okay. So it starts from the recruitment.
It starts from even your recruiter. Yes, even your recruiter.
Okay. Okay. So let's go back to project management. Now, understand that we have, especially in Nigeria, there's a huge number of failed projects, abandoned projects, and it just keeps getting worse every time. So, what exactly is responsible for this? Is it the skills, the manpower, or like they always politicians always say, political will?
Okay, so it's a lot of factors.
Okay.
The number of failed projects in Nigeria is, when I saw that statistics, you know how you see a figure and your brain is not quite catching up to it. You're like, this can't be possible, if not for the source that it's coming from.
Right.
You know, the number is alarming. But most of this time, what happens is a lack of proper, again, let me use the word counting of costs. Okay. And that's not to say, oh, there's no budget in place. But if there's a budget in place to start and finish the project, and that's where the project manager comes in, the person is able to see the big picture to say, okay, we need to construct a 3-story building in 6 months using 10,000 naira. That's the picture the project manager is seeing. He has tools and he has templates to help him to analyze it and say, okay, so if we have 15 people working 4 times a week from say 8 to 12, it's that detailed. Okay. From say 8 to 12 for maybe, 4 times a week, like I said, we'll be able to finish in say 6 months. Okay. But our budget can only take us 3 months. How do we, what do we need to do to make sure that with the budget we have, we're able to construct our 3-story building in 3 months? And that's really just like simplifying it. So most of the time what happens is there's really nobody looking at the big picture and seeing how everything fits in.
Okay.
I don't know if you're one of those people, but I am and she is, that still does puzzles. You remember the puzzles?
Oh,
yes.
Especially behind. Let me not mention the name of that newspaper, so I don't advertise for them.
No, let's not advertise for anybody. But you know how those puzzles fit in together, and how many times you would have looked at the picture. So on the box of the puzzle, it comes with a fully done. So you already know that, okay, this is a map of Nigeria. That's what I want to do. You kind of have an idea. What the project manager does, now using that illustration, is I've seen we're doing a map of Nigeria. Okay. So I already know that all the blue pieces go around the edges. And I'm sorting out the blue pieces. And I'm sorting out the greens. And I'm sorting out the browns. Such that by the time anybody comes, put it together, makes it easy to just slot in the pieces because they're all grouped according to how best they fit in.
Okay.
So, and unfortunately, we are in a country where, for some odd reason, a lot of times we don't take attention, we don't pay attention to detail. And I think that is what CIPMN, the Chartered Institute of Project Management of Nigeria, is coming in to say, enough. Let's standardize this thing. Let's standardize the learning. Let's standardize the certifications, accreditations. Let's standardize the supervision, if you will, to say enough of half-finished projects. If we train people that are interested in this to know that this is the way it works, then we would have, fewer of such abandoned projects.
Okay, so I agree with you, but then some other persons would argue, based on the fact, because you talked about looking at the puzzle, you already have something in mind that you want to start, and then this is when we're going to finish, this is the budget that we have. Other things, or all things being equal, whichever way, and then you now come and have FX breathing down your neck. Before you started your project, you were budgeting 1,000 naira to the dollar, but now you're looking at 1,500 naira to a dollar. Before you started your project, one of your suppliers were JSK or Procter & Gamble, but now they've left the country. So it means you now need to source for new suppliers. If you have to put all those things into cognizance, it means that somehow maybe that's the reason why some of this project fails. So how do you now place them?
You know why I'm smiling at you? You're already talking like a project manager. Those are some of the factors. Those are some of the things that are factored into the budgeting, into the planning, if you will. To say, we are human living on Earth.
Okay.
We're not aliens from Mars. So all things will not be equal. And you make provisions for all things not being equal.
Okay. So even when you start your...
So there's a place for risk
negotiations
management. There's a place for consequence management. There's a whole lot more that goes into a project for it. And we're using buildings as an example, but that's really just one project. There's a whole lot that goes into it. And being able to see, like, again, I said, the big picture, this is what we want to achieve. Answering the question, how? Even if a flood happens, what do we do to make sure that this project is completed? Such that if it truly, because there will be some that eventually don't end up getting completed, even having done all, you know that you did your absolute best based on global standards. That even a company in Japan would not have finished this. You understand? So that's the way it is. You put all those things, have a contingency plan, you know, and if Forex decides to be 2,000 naira to $1, what do we do? Are we making provision for that possibility? And it is a possibility.
It is a possibility. And sometimes I just wonder why you just see some, especially in Nigeria, you hear politicians tell you that road constructors tell you that we were budgeting XYZ amount of money. Especially, I was looking at the Lagos Calabar Coastal Highway, and then they tell you this was what we were budgeting, but it didn't work that way, so we have to stop. Is it a failure of bringing the question to you, Yemisi? Is it a failure of they were not able to plan from the beginning? Because I hear her talk about you have to always put the contingency plan, the risk management. Does it actually mean that they did not put all of this in check before they started?
I would say yes. I wouldn't say failure as to say, but an oversight, which is not excusable. Before putting up a budget for a project, there should be professionals, project managers that would advise.
Okay.
To say this is what should be budgeted for this. These are the things that can come up. There are even acts of God that can come up, flood or anything can come up. So what happens if the whole thing is flushed away and you have to start all over again? So all of that needs to be put in place, and that is what CIPMN is doing in Nigeria right now. There should be standards that must be followed.
Okay, sorry I had to butt in there. Let me play the devil's advocate. What about people who say, okay, I don't have the funds to start with that and bring in professionals? Is there a way to...
So that you shouldn't, there should not be any other way but the standard way. It must follow that standard. That system must be followed through. And it's one of the things that we should begin to look into doing in Nigeria when it comes to decision making, policy making, even to our budgets. You can't nobody should just sit down and do that. Professionals must be brought into it. It should be part of the expenses that is going to go into doing that.
Okay.
Professionals, who are the people working on this budget? Who are the people advising on this budget? Who are the people drawing up this budget? Are they qualified enough to do that? If we don't bring in professionals, then it's still waste of money at the end of the day. Because most of these abandoned projects, if we need to work on them again, might need to be brought down totally and you start over again. And there are times that we've done projects that are not good enough. We had children dying from a school collapsing over them, which is really sad. So the question is, who were the people that work on that project? Was it good enough? What went into building that school? What was the standard? What was the code of conduct that was used? Were they tested? Were they vetted to be sure that we can put children in this facility? Not just children, anyone. The roads we're driving on, are they good enough? That is the work of a project manager also, that a project manager will have to ascertain that this was done perfectly and it's up to standard and it's good enough to you. So we cannot say we don't have money or we don't want to spend money on project managers and the professionals needed to get that job done. No, we can't say that. That is the most important ingredient in getting the job done. So it's just like going to the hospital and you say you don't have money to hire qualified doctors, and then you bring in quacks.
So you use the word attendant.
Yes, instead. So
Right,
you should be able. You've been watching doctors treat people. You should
You
learn.
should be able to
You
help
should be
us
able to
out.
help us out. Or you need to put in. You need to plan an event, and you say you don't need a event. You don't need a planner to do it.
Yeah, but some people always do that. They say, okay, we don't need a planner. Some other persons want to do the house and say, why do we need an architect?
So
we can just go on.
So in the long run, you see the effect of that. You go to event and maybe you're not getting the jollof rice you went for because somebody has
and they begin to serve the people in front
and leave you behind. Or such houses, either you do not bring an architect in, either the convenience is bad or water is leaking, where you would always see in it that this was not done by a professional. Somebody just sat down and, it's not just put 5 blocks there and everything. You see the difference eventually. And when it comes to national projects, it comes to things that would be used by the public. We shouldn't treat it like that.
Right.
You can throw your birthday party without bringing in an event planner. It's your birthday party. It's between you and your friends and family. But when it comes to a school, for instance, a marketplace, the road, this affects the effect is broader.
Right.
It reaches a whole lot of people. We don't know how far the damage can go. And it tells on us as a nation. You can't joke with that. The professionals must be involved in policy making when you're making your decision, and in budgeting for a project. You can't budget for a road without the project manager's involvement.
Okay, so what exactly are the job opportunities open for project managers, especially now, today, tomorrow, even in the future, looking at AI and all?
So the opportunity is broad. Project management runs across every sector. You have projects in education, you have projects in health, you have projects in businesses, you have projects in governance, like we just finished discussing about. So it's broad. You'll be a certified project manager will be needed anywhere and everywhere, even religious circles.
Okay.
You'll be needed everywhere and anywhere. So it is a good opportunity. And AI does not actually reduces that. It actually enhances that. It means as a professional, you're building your capacity. Even with AI, you're able to do your job using AI as an aid, as an instrument, as one of your tools. So you cannot use AI when it comes to project management instead of a professional. You can't, because AI is not on the field with you. It is the individual that understands everything that is happening that would be able to impute such data and numbers or whatever it is that needs to be imputed into the AI to give you the solutions you need. We also talked about human management when we started this conversation. AI can do that for you.
Right.
You need to be there with the people. You need to understand the people that you're working with. You need to know how to utilize them. Let me not use the word utilize their skills appropriately. Who is best for this task? Who is best at this level of the project? Who should be in front of this? Who should be at the back end of this? We're here. There are people behind and we are the front. It takes somebody to understand that this person is better at this than that. So you can't use AI to do that. you still need professionals. So if there's anyone thinking about getting into project management, I think this is the best of times to get into it. And CIPMN is pushing for it that every project in Nigeria must have a certified project manager.
Okay.
Trained, certified by CIPMN.
Okay.
And this person is responsible for what the project becomes. If it's successful, the project manager is responsible for that. If it fails, the project manager is responsible for that. So you can't hold AI responsible for that.
All right. Before we go to Mojisola, here you talk about the fact that you need to utilize people.
Yes.
And then check out their skills, their talent, and know what they're good for. So when you have an organization that just have one person is doing almost everything, it looks as though one person is the mason, he's the plumber, he's the teacher, he's here, there, everywhere. And for that person, it could be, I'm just doing it because I love my job. So how do you now deal to let such person understand that, okay, you're being used, or should you just keep doing after all, you enjoy what you're doing?
First of all, such organization is at the verge of failing. If anything happens to that one person, the organization might fail with that. Then who is managing such organization? Who is allowing for just one person to keep doing that? You need to be able to bring everybody into the picture. Everybody should have their roles, their responsibilities, their KPIs. At the end of the month or at the end of the week, quarterly or annually, what is the results that everyone is bringing to the table? So
there should be like a monthly or quarterly check.
Yes.
To know people's
performance and what are your contributions to the organization? What value are you adding to this organization? Also, things like that can happen where people don't really understand what is required of them in an organization, and somebody's just doing everything. Even the person doing everything probably does not know what is required of him or her. And he's just doing it because he loves his job. He may love that aspect of the job, but what other aspect is this person carrying on just because nobody's stepping on? So like we have consulted for organizations, and we have advised that they shuffle people from their department, move somebody from this department to the other department. And at first, people would grumble, or people don't like change. But after 3 months, 6 months, they are more excited at their job. They are doing it. You see the willingness to do more, because we've moved this person from, no, this is not your strength. We've moved this person to, this is your strength. And the more you utilize your strengths, the happier you are, because it almost comes naturally.
Right.
You've met somebody that loves talking, and maybe let's use a restaurant for instance, and you put the person at the production place, and the person is just there talking over everybody's head. And everybody's just tired of this person. Nobody wants to be on the same shift as this person. Move the person to front desk. Customers will enjoy the person more. Imagine walking into a restaurant, oh, you look nice, your hair is beautiful, how may we help you today? You would want to go back there, right? But you meet somebody that just, what can I get you? So it is utilizing people's skills appropriately that helps them do their job better. It brings the best out of them. What we do a lot of times with strength is that, first of all, we focus more on our weaknesses than our strengths. So if, for instance, if you talk better than you write, you may want to focus more on writing than speaking. Whereas you're supposed to lean more into your speaking ability. And somebody else can do the writing for you. Somebody else whose strength is writing can do that for you. But we tend to want to learn what we are not really gifted at than focus on what our giftings are. That's number one. Number two, we tend to treat our strengths as weaknesses. So I use the example of people that talk a lot. most people see that as weaknesses. Oh God, she talks a lot.
She's
just all over the place. She just can't keep quiet. Well, if you have a presentation, put that person there.
Yeah.
That person would not think of what to say, and the person will not say one thing twice.
Right.
So that's the person's gift. So it's about managers not managing people's skills appropriately, and you just keep shutting that person down. And then you're looking at the other person that does not like talking or is not as outspoken. And speak. The person gets terrified at his or her job. Maybe this person is good at details, at numbers. That person should be there.
So it means you need to be looking out for, because you have some managers who will just tell you that she can't do it, so let's just leave her alone.
No, she can't do this, but she can do something else.
Right.
So what can she do in the scope of your business? Where does she fit in? And that is also what we're talking about in project management, that a project manager needs to understand where every individual fits in and where they can excel. If you're able to get that, if you're able to do that, then you can then train.
Okay.
Because there are people that don't know that this is a strength. As a manager, you've helped the person find out you're really good at this. Now let's train you to be able to, let's fine-tune this for you to be able to use it better.
All right.
So you are not good at this. What are you good at? That is what training is all about. We tend to want to engineer people into what is their weaknesses rather than utilize them at their strengths.
Absolutely spot on. All right, let's go to a quick break, and when we return, we've got more to unbundle from this conversation with Mojisola and Yemisi. I'll see you after this time out. Stay. Welcome back. If you just joined us, this is The Conversation. We're reaching you from KAFTAN's television studio here in the nation's capital of Abuja. If you just joined us, you've feeling yourself in a whole lot, but then you can still join as we conclude on this matter. We've got two guests on the show today. My first guest, Mojisola Olatinwo, who is the Senior Strategy Advisor, Good Word Partners Limited. And I also have another guest, and she is Yemisi Adewunmi. She is COO, Good Word Partners Limited. Okay, before we went on that break, we've actually stated quite a number of things. But I will come back to you, Mojisola. Now let's talk about the challenges faced in project management. You talk about corruption and bureaucratic bottleneck, which could actually lead to delays. I hear you talk about how it could lead to delays, costs, overruns, and all. You look at also look at infrastructural deficit ranging from power supply, bad road network, and all of that. And then you look at security concerns, especially in Nigeria. You talk about insurgency, insecurity, kidnapping, militancy, even in the Niger Delta. Oh, it can really get that serious. Now you now also look at skilled workforce. Inadequate skilled workforce, because I was talking to someone and I said, you see all these people with handwork here, 1 minute they are rolling your boats, you are enjoying them, but the next minute you just feel like you want to rip their heads off. Like, so the person was saying, it looks as though there is one spirit following handwork people. They are just making you happy, and the next minute they just spoil it all. So how do you deal looking at these 4 things I mentioned? Okay. Be it workforce, be it corruption, be it infrastructure. How do you deal? It's a lot. Yeah.
You deal. It is a lot, but it is the reality on ground. Those are things you need to deal with and work around every single day. Corruption. I think that's an entire conversation for you. Like,
tell me about it.
That's an entire conversation on its own. However, again, it is something you already know will happen, more or less. Plan for it.
So plan that there will be corruption.
So that's the thing. It's at the risk of sounding unpatriotic. Let me use that word. Corruption has almost become our reality in Nigeria. And it's a reality we need to face squarely. The question is, how can I, as a project manager, reduce its effects on my project to the barest minimum and plan for it? Or walk away from it if it's too much for you. Like, don't even start. Don't even go there. So it is something a lot of us are hoping and working to correct, but it is something you have to face while planning for a project.
Can we actually do that in Nigeria? Do we have the mind to walk away when we know that by the time I'm looking at that project in the future, there's so much corruption in it, so let me just
you'd find one in many that would actually take the high road and say, look, I'm not doing this. This is more than I can take. It's a hard stance to take. It's not the popular stance to take, but I believe there are people out there that will take that road to say, this is meant for this project, and let us use it for this project. It is not meant for anybody's private accounts. It's an unpopular stance. There will be a lot of opposition, but for who can, please do.
I agree.
And for who can't, again, there's no one size fits all. For some, this is the way it's going to go. So we plan around it. So while we're budgeting, we call it and go ahead so that the project. A lot of times you find that this project is not that the budgeting was not properly done. It's just that funds were mismanaged. It's corruption. It's corruption. There's no other word for it. Talking about insecurity and insurgency, every time, I'm sure there was a doctor on set, every time the word insurgency is mentioned around me, I'm sure my BP goes up a bit. And for every well-meaning Nigerian and right-thinking person, that's the response. That this thing has lingered for too long already. Government has promised us. Let's do that. We don't know. But again, it is something, I know one of the things that is usually put into place with some projects is getting security on ground, involving the police, the military, depending on what part of the country you're in, to say, okay, for the duration of this project, we need security, we need armed security to make sure that the project is completed without too much interference. Bad roads is part of our field projects, so that's part of what CIPMN is actually working actively against. To say, CIPMN is under the Ministry of Trade. It's three things: trade, investment, and trade and investment. So they are actually actively pushing for, and I believe very soon it will become, to make sure that a licensed project manager is on every government contract team. So like before any government contract is awarded to any organization, they must present evidence of having a licensed project manager on their team.
What does licensed manager means? Like
a licensed project manager. So CIPMN does training. Well, they've created the curriculum for global standards of training. So you have your membership where you're a member of CIPMN, but you are not, you've not been granted the power to make a decision on a project.
Okay.
You can work as a project manager or a project management officer, but you cannot sign off on any document. Licensing is after you've gone through the training, you've written the professional exams and passed, then you're given a license to say you're a licensed project manager, recognized by Nigeria as an entity, and you're able to sign off on decisions. You're able to make a decision, be held responsible for the decision. And CIPMN actually reserves the right to withdraw your license if you're not meeting standards.
So for that,
it's that serious.
So for that, my friend, who it goes way beyond going to school and
go to school. Then you get your membership. So, and then there are different classes of memberships. There's a student membership, there's graduate, there's a chartered, there's fellowships.
Okay.
get your membership, write your exam, pass, and then become licensed.
Okay.
And it is only CIPMN that is permitted to license you as a project manager in Nigeria by law.
Okay, so before I go to the next question, let's touch on that one I talked about. How do you deal with those masons, the plumbers, those with handwork?
So you see that one is also another systemic problem, if you will, in the country, to say that we have so downplayed vocational skills acquisition to say, the common narrative is this one cannot go to formal school, so let's send him to do an internship and apprenticeship. So that's problem number one with that. Problem number two, you now find the whole get rich quick thing. So you find, so the funny story, if you permit me.
Go ahead.
Yes. So some years back, I was helping someone set up her uniform factory. We got this technician to come and install the machines. He installed them. The tailors used them for all of 5 minutes and came running to us to say the machines were sewing backwards.
Ooh.
And this was somebody we had been told, he's really good at what he does. Apparently, he has never encountered those kind of machines before, but he didn't say. And then we get somebody else, and immediately the person saw the installation. He said, I know who did this work. How? He said, we learned in the same place. I've been called to rectify his problem in more than one place in Abuja.
Oh, wow.
We learned under the same person. He was in a hurry. And I'm quoting him literally. He says he was in a hurry to start making money.
Oh, wow.
He had learned some of the machines. He hadn't finished the training. People started calling him for jobs. He left his orga and started, touting himself as a machine specialist. And he has ruined people's machines all over the SCT. And he that stayed for the extra 6 months to complete the training now has to be called in at extra cost to rectify. So you have a lot of people. I've talked to carpenters who will tell you young boys don't want to stay and complete their trainings anymore. And then to ask the question, can it be done in a better way? Can informal education be done in a more structured way so that they don't have to spend 5 years or 10 years learning one skill? So those are the questions that we really need to look at. It's terrible though. And then you now find that the artisans that are really, really skilled and really good, you said something about enjoying them for a period of time and then suddenly it's drama. Go and check it. He's literally the only one that is that skilled. He doesn't have boys working for him anymore. So he's handling everything himself. And by the time he has 15 jobs spread from Gwagwalada all the way to Asokoro or Nyanyase, he's spread thin. He begins to make mistakes. He's tired. He's just spread really thin all over the place. And because he feels that the more clients he gets, the more successful he is, he keeps taking on clients. And so people begin to get disappointed left, right, center. As a project manager, how do you deal with masons and plumbers and carpenters? I'd say have more than one.
Okay. Have more than one, right? More than one. All right. So now let's move to other matters. I'm going to ask you 2 questions and I'd like you to take them together in one breath.
Okay.
One, we'll talk about investment opportunities, especially for project managers. Before now, we know how the country is. People go out, travel for COP28, they travel for G Summit, and then they come in with the investors, with the portfolios, be it the foreign direct investment or the investments are coming in.
Yes, exactly.
But then I was talking to one of my guests, and then he said these days they just go with the delegates and then they come with an empty portfolio. And inside the portfolio, you're even looking for bread. There's no bread inside. There's no investment coming in. So are there opportunities for project managers? That's one. Secondly, we'll delve into capacity building. I was talking to someone again about capacity building, and then he says, my own definition of capacity building is just dole out cash to people. Just give them what they want. If they want it in zillions, just trouble them with so much money, and they'll be fine. Is that capacity building?
Absolutely not. Now, talking about investment and project management, with what CIPMN is trying to do presently to make sure that there's a licensed project manager on every project, it gives foreign investors a bit of confidence.
Okay.
The curriculum is actually co-developed with NUC, and it was based on international standards. So if you're talking to an investor and you're letting him know that the person managing the project can hold his own anywhere in the world, it gives a bit of confidence. So looking forward within the next 6 months, a year, 18 months, that is going to come into play where you're having more and more investors saying, okay, let's take a look at Nigeria again.
Oh, great. Okay.
So that's on the one hand. The second part of your question was capacity building. Capacity building and giving people money are not the same thing. If you give a 17-year-old 500,000, and that 17-year-old has been in school literally all her life, has had no financial intelligence training whatsoever, has literally had all her bills being paid by her parents, and you just give her 500,000, the possibility that she would mismanage that money is almost 90%.
Okay.
Because you're putting money in someone who has not built capacity. But take another 17-year-old that has gone through, say, a secondary school financial intelligence training, has a bit of an idea of what investments are, has a bit of an idea of what liquidity is and all that, basics, and give that same child 500,000. The response would be widely varied.
Okay.
That's what capacity building is all about. It's not about money. It has nothing to do with money. It's about extending or expanding your own ability to handle a challenge that comes before it comes.
Okay.
So it's being proactive and not reactive. And so when we say build your team, it's to say, okay, you're looking at XYZ coming in the future, looking at your team, can they handle that challenge when it comes? If the answer is no, what can we do to build on their strengths such that by the time the challenge comes, they're able to handle it? So by the time you're now giving them the zillions of naira, they know exactly what to do with it.
Okay.
They're not making you unhappy.
Absolutely. All right, even as we begin to round off, and that same question, so send it to you, Yemisi. Like, I'm sure whatever that person is, he's actually listening, because there's this mentality, especially with the southeastern part people, and I hate to use this to make it look as if I'm talking to the Igbo people, but that's the truth. They just believe if this person cannot work, Annabel, give him money. If he says he can't work, just ask him, how much do you want? And then when he tells you how much he wants and then you're able to pay him, his capacity is built. Is that true?
It's actually funny because I see Igbo people as those people who love to work. They are creative and, they put in time. Like you see most of them being apprenticed, learning a trade and all that. So maybe that's where they got that idea from. But like she had rightly said, money is not empowerment in any way. Yeah, there's a stage you get to where you would need money to empower yourself or to develop what you have. But if you don't have anything, then the money goes to nothing.
So money is not a motivation?
No, it's not.
Oh.
No.
No, it's not.
Really? Okay.
Even though we have treated it as a motivation, it is not. I was reading somewhere where most of the people that win lottery in America end up broke, worse than they were before they got the money.
I think they said in less than 2 years.
In less than 2 years. And we're talking of thousands of dollars. Thousands of dollars. They go back worse than they were before getting the money. So it's not a motivation. If 100,000 in the hands of somebody who can attach value to that and is equipped to attach that value is more valuable than 1 millionaire in the hands of somebody else. So when we're talking about empowering people, it's about developing what is in them, bringing out the best in them, equipping them. And the equipment is not money again. The equipment is knowledge. Yes.
Okay.
The equipment is knowledge. What knowledge are we imparting in these people? Is it formal education? Is it informal education? You know, one of the reasons why young people are not so excited about taking up a skill or learning a trade like they are about university is the kind of value that the society has attached to it. And the tendency for somebody who learns how to make shoes and is making it really well to succeed sometimes is higher than somebody who went to school to study art and crafts.
Right.
And we haven't seen it that way. If you find someone that can make you nice shoes and nice leather bag, cheaper than the Louis Vuitton everybody's running after, and is doable, you would go for that.
Definitely.
Right?
Definitely.
If you find someone who makes your dress really nice and you look beautiful, you would go for that. You would pay any amount at some point to get it. What would the person that studied art and craft do for you if he has not developed capacity?
Okay.
Right? So it's not about money.
All right.
It's about capacity development. The equipment we need is helping young people develop their capacity, the knowledge, the skill that is needed.
All right.
That's it.
Thank you so much. It's been a wonderful time having this conversation with you. Like, we could just go on and on, but time is never our friend when we're talking this kind of matters. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Mojisola Olatinwo, Senior Strategy Advisor, Good Worth Partners Limited. It's been a pleasure talking to you. All right, and we've also been chatting with Yemisi Adewunmi, COO, Good Worth Partners Limited. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
All right, so viewers, I'm sure you must have been rightly educated, entertained, and informed. Now you know what building capacity is. It's not about money, and now you know that money is not a major motivation. Go build your capacity today. My name is Annabel Orji. I'll see you next time. God bless you and yours. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Good morning.